All right, welcome back. So this section is going to be focused on deploying to Heroku, but before we do that, let's explore this Django REST framework a little bit. I have lines. If I go to /1, as you would expect from a RESTful API, you get just that one, the first line. If you want to post that form, or put in this case because it's already an existing one, put is edit and post is create. We can modify either raw data or with an HTML form. Raw data, we would be just giving it the JSON. So if I change the description to A, it's either put or patch to update. I can update it, and that actually is in my database and everything. HTML form is a little friendlier. Now, what I wanted to show you, and the reason we added these three things, was because we can edit the created. Because we have serialized it into the Django REST framework with the CRUD ability, we are able to change this date. It gives us a nice date input, and we're able to change the date into the future, or into any time, because it's just an input form. However, it did not give me the option to change these two. It didn't give me the option, and the updated at reflects this current time that I just did a put to it. It's significantly ahead of the time it was created. That's because in our code, our models, we have these here. So Django gives us these auto now attributes that, if you set to true, will, even if you put it in your serializers, Django REST framework knows that you mean not to be able to edit those. So that every time it's updated, because you said auto now equals true, every time it's modified, it will give it this timestamp. Every time it's created, every time you add it, it'll give it a timestamp. Just automatically, you don't even need this. Yeah, we use this over here to create a field that is editable by the user, or by the API at any rate. Okay. So that's all I wanted to show you with those three. You don't have the option of editing these, but you do this. And here, I can view what it would be in JSON. I can just get the JSON, but if I just give it a parameter, this is a parameter with a question mark, and then I say format equals JSON after my HTML, or after my URL, and I can get the JSON. I'll just get the JSON for whatever line that is. So that's very handy. This is the raw. This is the parsed. This is just the add-on I have. That's what you might get without the add-on. It's just prettified. Yeah, that's this add-on right here. It's nice. JSON formatter. Okay. And yeah, so we have our API there. Now let's put it on Heroku. And let's walk through this together the first time. Later this afternoon, before you get into the assignment for today, I want you to try deploying some of your older Django apps to Heroku. Deploy a few apps to Heroku so you you can just get in the rhythm of it. Now these instructions here, you can see how short it is. It's because we've condensed the docs into these steps here. So just read them very carefully because they're very dense. You don't want to skip something. And it's going to be just a little less reading than reading the docs themselves, which just say the same thing. So it's up to you which to follow, but this is a little shorter. The first thing we're going to do is create a proc file. We're going to create a proc file in our app's root directory. And VS Code is going to be smart enough to know that proc file means Heroku. So this is the top level, the same one as manage.py it says. So same level as manage.py, which is this level here. And I'm going to say proc file, capital P. Oh, look, VS Code was smart enough to put a Heroku symbol when I finish typing proc file. So I'm just going to go ahead and press enter. And what do we need in our proc file? We need this line of code, web unicorn. Insert project name here .wsgi, and we need to replace that long constant with wine API in our case. I like pressing Command D to highlight things I need to delete or wrap. So you might have seen WSGI before. It's the request. Remember the request object? Okay, so we copied this line of code and we replaced this name. I'm just going to wait a bit. Here's the typing. We have to pip install JUnicorn. Let's do that. Make sure my virtual environment is active when I'm installing into it. Unicorn. Need a pip. This is why I copy and paste. Command left. We will go all the way to the beginning of the line. I mean, even this I copied and pasted because it's just less work for my fingers. And typing this out really won't help me. I'm not copying and pasting a giant block of code I don't understand, right? So I'm going to move on to step 2, Django Heroku. This is pip install Django Heroku. So I'm going to copy this here. I'm going to go to my VS Code, paste it. And this is from the docs again. If you look at the official docs, it says to use Django Heroku and JUnicorn. And it says, let's go off of one set of directions, shall we? Let's place the import Django Heroku at the top of settings.py. So at the very top of settings.py, I'm gonna Command T, settings, enter. Just gonna go Command up to go to the top of the file, paste it in there. And then at the very bottom of settings.py, I'm gonna paste this there, and I'm gonna make sure not to forget the end parentheses there. I almost did. Kind of hard to select. I'm gonna go back, press Command down, paste it in. I'm gonna put a space there because it looks nice. All right. And one final thing we do is pip freeze our requirements into our requirements.txt so that when we deploy it to the server, they can pip install everything they need to, or we can. So that would be pip freeze with my virtual environment still active. So it's going to look at that virtual environment, all the active things inside it, and record it into a text file. And I can see my requirements.txt pop up, and it has all the things that were inside my virtual environment, some of which I don't even know. White noise.
Yeah.
Okay. And let's make it a create ignore file. A get ignore file. And it's got a dot in front of it because it's hidden. I'm gonna new file, get ignore. It has a nice get icon. And I want venv and PyCache in it.
What level did you create them?
I created at the root level. And venv. So now it should ignore everything inside the venv folder that I named my virtual environment and the PyCache. We also don't need this to be pushed up to GitHub. Oh, it's not even a Git repository yet. All right, I'm gonna wait a second for everyone to catch up. We should have gone through the 4 steps here. At the root level, you can just say touch.getIgnore, and that'll do the same thing. All right, we're gonna move on. We're going. Oh, say again? Oh. Are we ready to move on? Yeah? Okay. So we're gonna go to Heroku.com. We already created an account this morning. And mine goes straight to the dashboard. And I'm gonna go to the top right and click the new button. I'm gonna create a new app. The app name doesn't matter to me. I'm going to leave it blank. And I'm just going to press the create app button. And it gave me a nice 2-word and a number name, protected peak. Oh, you're protected too?
And you said you're protected peak on basin.
Oh, you're a protected basin. Oh.
I'm a farmer.
No. I mean, you can have peaks without basins. Let's see. Now I'm going to follow the instructions in the deploy tab, which it automatically brought me to the deploy tab. I didn't click there. So I'm scrolling down and I'm using the Heroku CLI method here. If you click on the different buttons, you'll get different methods to deploy. But I'm using Heroku CLI, the command line interface. So the first thing is Heroku Login. Should have done that this morning. Yes, you were supposed to Heroku Login this morning.
When do we know about that?
Oh, I put it in the Slack channel. Has everybody signed up for Heroku?
I signed up for it.
All right, so go back to the Slack channel, and just before 9, you see I posted a link for devs.heroku.com articles, Heroku CLI, download and install, and follow the instructions there. Let me just pull it up on the screen. The instructions for Mac is brew tap Heroku / brew, and then brew install Heroku.
Do we have to get out of our virtual environment?
No, you don't need to get out of your virtual environment. And after you do that, try Heroku Login.
We create an account.
Yes, after you create an account. I think you can just use your GitHub account or something to as OAuth, maybe. That'd be convenient. So we'll wait for everyone to get their Heroku account, and it shouldn't take too long. Yes. I'm already logged in. I'm not going to bother. Yes. Go to your dashboard and hit New App. You can just press the Continue button at the bottom if you don't want to specify a name, and it'll give you a name. And then it'll spit you out onto the Deploy tab, and you scroll down and see the instructions.
Where are you going? Get over here. Get Heroku Log. Browse where you are. Browse. Point tag, yep. Add this app to a pipeline.
So you're gonna skip this app to the pipeline section, and just scroll down to deploy using Heroku Git. And you're gonna follow these instructions here. After you've Heroku logged in, let's go ahead and do it. I don't need to cd into my project. I'm just gonna get in it. Get in it. All right, initialize and up to your repository. Now, Does anybody remember the git command to view all my remotes?
No.
It's git remote -v. And nothing shows up because I don't have any remotes. So if I paste that command in that they gave me, it says it's set git remote Heroku to this URL. Normally we see an origin, and now we have Heroku as a remote instead of origin. So when I say git remote v again, I should see that I have a Heroku fetch remote and a Heroku push remote.
And how many view of the yes, we have fetch and push.
Now we have fetch and push. So I'm guessing the next step is to push. Well, no, we have to add and commit before we can push, right? So let's just add everything. Git add dot git commit first commit, and then it says git push Heroku master, and this might take a little while. And I'm just gonna wait until everybody has caught up. You should see a URL near the bottom, but not at the bottom, that points to your app online.
Is it the Git?
It's not the Git one. That's the Git URL if you want to push code to or from. Pull from.
HerokuApp.com?
Yes, the one at HerokuApp.com is the URL, the public URL. I'm just gonna wait. Application error.
Click it. Good luck. The link. I just copied it. Yeah, me too. I said, it's not found. What says application error?
Yeah. So some of you might have visited the URL. If you got a message saying that there was a failure and you might want to check your logs, you could look up how to check your logs in Heroku. There's a couple ways. There's a command called Heroku Logs, and then hyphen tail, I think. Or you can just go through the GUI on the website. Oh. Can you look at your requirements.txt? It looks like it's not in there. Oh, he had an error saying module Django Heroku not found. But we should have pip installed it.
Well, I had errors trying to do that. I'm reading through right now. Apparently, Rick can update your operating system, and now you also have to update Xcode,
We might have to
command-line tools,
update certain things.
because it actually relies on certain compilers being there to compile low-level
Is it
code.
updating now?
Yes, it's what I'm doing right now.
So we have some Xcode installation needed.
I do not confront it
Xcode dash select space dash dash I, or sorry, space dash dash install.
That's what he had to do this morning. Now, if you pip freeze too early and you didn't get Heroku Django in your requirements.txt, you'll have to commit that change to your requirement text before you push it up to Heroku again. So every time you make a change, in order for it to reflect on Heroku, you have to commit and then push up to Heroku.
So Django, your remote rejected.
Remote rejected.
You said Django, your
Yes, see, for him,
it's a button.
yeah, that's if you need to make a change. You do have to commit that change before you can push it up. Push fail. What happened? Previously up to 5.
It has to do with the URLs. Yeah.
Okay, check.
Here's an admin. Since we changed the way views work, we're not watching. Oh, there's no router equals people. We don't change that. Empty path did not match any of them. What the heck?
Well, you just said about the PHP. We're writing Django.
That will be basically just a really switch.
Well,
Change it back.
yeah, do the clear thing again. But when it doesn't have a green check, take a step back to the Google search. Maybe you should change your query a little bit. I think I see what. Can you go down? And one other. No. Where? Oh, but it said it can detect the which. It said it can detect which strong. Okay. No default management. I see about that. Wait, you see it into
My project.
in your case, all right. Shall I Google with you? Yeah. I was gonna say change the query, the Google query itself, the search to. Let's see what it is now. Push rejected to group. We can be a little more descriptive. I'll go to the error. What can we Google from this error? Can you say previously booked decline? What? Previously booked decline. The more unique words from here that you put in that don't just pertain to like configuration, it's just your will help you in the error message. Yeah. Do you want to look up the solution to an error message that looks very similar to yours? Does it have a green check? Oh, it doesn't. I never even read the question, honestly. Most of them are probably in as well. The answers are well written, especially if they're green check.
Contact Heroku support.
Well, you're right that it didn't look. Oh.
We also stuff.
Also, stuff.
So, made the app, right? Made migration. Via the now with the unique URL.
Really?
Yeah.
You can figure this out. Go back. Go back. Oh wait, can you go forward? I saw someone say Django. One. Can you look at your requirement setbacks? Oh no, I see what happened. Oh dear. It's TX instead of kits. Okay. Almost there. This one, you're looking at your logs, trying to figure out. Some of you are seeing Django errors you haven't seen for 2 weeks, though you don't remember. Remotes, how are you doing? Has everyone gotten to this step here and successfully deployed to Heroku? Are you still working on that?
Yeah, it's like when I look at the errors in the project.
Can you go to the error again? Okay, so page not found because you didn't set up a route for the root path. You only set up routes for a certain path. Or routes for a certain path. Admin one. So when you hit the root of the website, there's nothing there. So we need to add a path there. Oh, you could add a path there where you could go to the one path.
So isn't that what's happening here when we exclude? Isn't that what's happening here? Because normally you refer to this as
If you look at the lines with the project URLs,
project.
we did say the path should start with lines.
So why can't it find it?
It does find it. It can find it.
So this is an empty.
Yes.
So I have to put it somewhere right here.
No. You just have to go to lines or add the.
Well, how do you do that from when you're deploying the app?
It's the same thing as you were doing locally. You have to change that. Find a route. Oh, yeah. I've tried a lot.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
So we don't need to add it.
You can add one if you wish.
I'm sorry. I swear.
You just haven't seen that error in a while.
I swear to you, I typed lines there. It did not work previous. Right. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
I wonder what happened when you clicked on that. All right, we have people on our deploy tab. Oh, it looks like we used yeah, so you deployed it there. All right, let's move on. When I go to this website, I'm gonna command click to follow it. Sure. I get this error. It says page not found because we didn't set up a route. it says we need to try one of these routes here. So admin should work. It does, and wines should work. Uh-oh, we have an error here. It says relation wines underscore wine does not exist. Did you see this earlier, Michael?
I did.
You did. This error, what does it mean? We have. Oh, it's not showing us the whole error, just part of it, huh?
I got that error when I didn't have any data.
Didn't
Well-
say then there's no relationship between the project name wines and your component or your app name?
No, it just can't find the table.
This is the DB. We didn't upload our databases.
I haven't migrated. So once you're done, I have to run my migrations. Now there's two ways to do this. I can do this from the root of my project, Heroku run, that's very convenient. If I deployed this project a long time ago and I haven't cloned it down to my desktop and I'm just checking on it, I can go through the GUI they have. Where's my, here it is. And here, I'm at my Apple homepage here. I can go to settings, I believe. The setting, no. More, okay, view logs. So I can view the logs here. And we see this error here. It returned a 500. This is the browser I'm using. All right, and I can actually run in this console here. I can click Run Console. The Heroku Run manage.py migrate. And this is one option besides running from the command line. You can open up the console to your app right from the website. So I just applied my migrations. And now that the database has the migrations in it, I'll be able to access my wine list, which right now has nothing in it.
Locking me out is super eager.
Because there is no super user, because your user's information didn't get sent either.
And
Didn't exist, which doesn't exist yet.
that's deploying Heroku. If you, it won't have your wines because you made that in your local database. You didn't.
Did you push it? Make migration?
And when we made migrations, we made that migrations folder. We created those already, and we pushed those up to Heroku. So we don't need to make migrations because we already pushed the results of that command up. We do, however, need to migrate that structure into the database that was created on Heroku's server. That database is running on their end, not ours. So it has no data in it. And we just migrated the structure into it from a blank slate. And you did that because you saw that wines page.
But there's still none of the wines I had previously.
But you won't have any of the wines you added previously because that's on your local machine. If you wanted fake data to populate, you would want a seeds file of some sort to run after you push it up to get to Heroku. So you'd want to have some method of seeding fake data into your database. If you want that fake data to also exist in Heroku, you'll have to separately add that to that database.
Do we have to create a separate super user also?
Yes, yeah. The super user exists in the database
Okay.
as a database entry. Same error for what?
No web processing. I tried going into two different documentation.
No web processing.
It has something to do with the Django.
Wow. What happens when you hit the F10? Like on the application error. Okay, did you try Heroku Log step? And then that's what you got? No web processing.
And then if you go and you check that, it says something about not running Django. And so this would go first. Try that. And then you want to start with this here, find process.
Oh.
And so, and then so I got here. And then you could try to do the remove existing field packs.
I'd go back and try and find a different thing than that. You don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole of errors unless that first one that led you down the rabbit hole is for sure the solution. It's a green check and has an error exactly like yours, then chase it down. So where is the Google search that led you to that?
This is the original one that we got.
Oh, they're using Geo.2. Okay, cool. Yeah. Two answers, no green check.
So that's on the.
So that's 48 up with that no green check.
And so, and I went back to check my profile with those other things we brought up. And I think this is
Yeah.
what we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And it's in the right level. Well, actually, it was not right level.
Yes.
So I tried to, it was inside the one. Yeah. So what I did is I went back and read it again.
Okay.
But it was like, it said like it was an empty, and so should I just?
Can you get status now?
Oh, sorry, that's just 1 second. So that might be what.
Yeah.
Do I, when I commit, do I run through the same way that we committed before?
Yep, it's just the same when you commit changes and you're pushing to Heroku. It's just the same as pushing to GitHub. You have to add first before you commit. That might trip you up. So always get status. I always get status all the time. If you skip your get statuses, you'll skip a step and I'll realize it.
One, two, three, four. For the past few days.
I just got this far, so I'm feeling good.
Like here. I appreciate your opinion. I did not express it. But the quantity-
Yay.
Okay.
404 not found. That's what we.
And so I was trying to fix this. I didn't hear what you said. I was trying to kind of. So I got the one not found. What do I do now?
What do you do?
Yeah. So at least I got this.
Yeah.
So go to the transfer. Oh, is it just actually?
We've all seen this error before.
So at this point, we just put in the same
I've not done that.
update. Just the,
It's just the same as if you're running it locally. You would get this error.
okay.
So you can have this code running locally on local hosts at the same time. And as you're developing, that's what you'll do. You'll have it running on local hosts. And periodically, you'll push it up to Heroku to make sure it's working the same on their machine as it is on yours.
Okay, and the reason that I would get an error at that's right.
Yes. So there are no lines in there because that's a whole different database. It's a whole different machine. When you ran create DB, it didn't change any of your files. It created a database on your local machine. And you interacted with that database through the Django, through these files, but nothing in your files declares the data that is actually in your database.
So if I wanted to add that in.
So it's kind of like you said, drop DB and create DB again.
Okay.
You lost everything.
So moral of the story is don't create a database before you upload.
The moral of the story is create a file or create some code, whether it's through an add-on like Pip Install or some kind of seed library, or have some faker code already written so that you can push that up to Heroku and then run it so that when you migrate, right after you migrate, you see. So migrate the structure into the database, now put all this fake data into it. And you should have this code already written so that when you push it to Heroku, you can have fake data, or when your developer friend who's helping you with your project, when they clone down the project, they can have some clear documentation to direct them on how to seed the database. So they don't have to go through and actually manually put in whatever fake data that you need.
So what if the data is part of the functionality of the application, and it's not necessarily something you want?
If the data is part of the functionality, like you have to demonstrate this data has to be there, then that's even more reason to, yes, to have seeding set up somehow.
At that point, it's not fake data, it's like necessary.
Yeah, that's necessary data at that point.
Yeah, you always have a team file, like after you deploy team file.
So right on the README of the root directory of your file, have a README. So when you pull up the GitHub page for it, or when you just open the folder, there's a README. And in that README, you should describe all the steps you think someone would need. They might be running Windows, then you get into a whole other mess. But assume just put down everything you think they would need to know and everything they need to do to spin up your including seeding, because most apps don't look good with no data in them.
Yeah. So let's say, if we look at the GitHub that you have at the end of the curriculum, that's what our project should look like in GitHub.
Say again? What GitHub?
Okay, complete a copy of today's code that we found here in this info.
Oh, completed copy. Oh, here. Oh, interesting. I didn't even see that. Yeah. This is just one completed version. Yay! So you can just clone that down. Although, yeah. So what I want you to do now is to go back to some of your Django projects. Make sure you can run it locally. So manage.pr run server, run it locally, kind of get a feel for what it does locally, and then go through these steps again here. Getting Django ready for Heroku, and etc. Start from step 1, creating a proc file, and deploy at least 2 of your older Django apps to Heroku to get used to the process. Okay. I'm just gonna stop the recording. Do we have any questions?
I think I was debugging when you covered this.
Debugging, uh-huh.
How would we see this now? That it's,
How would we see this? It's up to you. If you, there looks like there's a lot of add-ons for Django for seeding. I personally like to use Faker and manually do it. There's even an automatic Faker command that'll just look at your column type and just put it into gibberish, but I don't think that looks as nice. And there's various libraries that will seed your database as well. If you configure one of them to see your database, make sure you include in your documentation how to execute that seeding process. So really, the answer is up to you. I like having a seed or seeds.py with Faker in there, and then in my README, I don't know why I'm searching random stuff. In my README, in my project, it'll say, please, when you etc. Like just make good documentation on how to seed your project, and yeah, that's why I hate the admin panel to actually, like, you're clicking here and you're typing, but it's all ephemeral. It's all in your database and just dies later on. So that effort you put in is not repeatable. You're not writing code that runs over and over again. You want to have some sort of repeatable process that someone can click a button ideally and just seed your database, or type in a command and seed your database.
So now we push up our.
Python. It would look something like this. If your seeds file lived inside a database folder, and all you need to do is run it, if you would just put that in your documentation, and you would have a bunch of Faker commands in there. Yeah, or yeah, specific data that you want in there.
maybe I'm not quite understanding is, so I've got a database and it's on my computer, so when I run this from the shell or anything, it's all there. Now that I push this up to Heroku, it's not there because that's my database, right?
Yes,
So
there's two different databases now.
So now Heroku's got its own database?
Heroku has its own server running its own.
It starts out as an empty data.
Okay,
Empty
so-
database without even any tables. You have to migrate the structure in there. If you have to migrate the structure in there, how do you think the data is good in there already?
Yeah, I get, so I run a command saying make migrations to Heroku.
Okay.
That should have seeded it, right?
No, it will not seed it. Migrating does not seed. Migrating and seeding are completely different.
It creates the model. So when you migrate, you just create the models.
Okay.
And then you have to create a separate seed file that actually runs like either SQL commands or Python commands.
Migrating is like building a bookshelf. So I'm gonna put the shelves on this peg and this peg, but it's empty. That's all migrating is. It's still empty. Seeding is loading the books on.
Understood. How do I make Heroku see that seed data? Is there a special command that says seed that to Heroku's?
There's no special command. You'd have to.
Doing a Heroku command line interface and just run Python seed file.
Okay.
So that's the Heroku command line interface.
So you make a Python file that will create the data. It might or might not be the same data you created locally.
That's why I taught you guys to use Faker earlier. So it would just look like something like this. I'll have, let me just put it in the same directory. I'm going to put it right here next to requirements subtext. Seed.py. Now I'm going to import Faker. This is after I already pip installed Faker and pip freeze it into here. I don't have Faker in here, but if I did, I would just pip install Faker. And then I would pip freeze it into my requirements text. Now let's write some, I think it's something like this.
You can
From,
start importing the model.
yeah, and I would have to import from models, and I would say for what is it? Line dot create such and such lines,
Keep it all over it.
et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then I would have this file ready here, push it up, and then I would just go onto Heroku. I can do it on their GUI. Where is it? I can do it in their GUI here in this console thing they had. Run console, and I can just run here Python c.py and run, and it's going to have an error here because I didn't push it up. I didn't push up the seed or actually set it up, but does that make sense?
Yes, I think so. Looking at, I'm on Heroku, looking at my lines. How do I get to that console?
Oh, the console? The console is on your Heroku dashboard. And if you go to your Heroku and you go to whatever site it was, here it is. In this corner here, under more, you have this run console option. You could also just go to the root directory since you have it on your computer. You can go to your directory here and say Heroku run, which we don't have a seed.py, and it's just a different interface to do the same thing.
That answers my question.
Okay. All right, get some Django apps deployed to Heroku. And your challenge after you do that is to set up Django REST framework, but the trick is you have nested resources now. You have students and courses. So of course, you're actually gonna have a many-to-many here. But you're gonna have to look at the docs for Django REST framework to figure out how to set up your serializers and make a school API. And you're just making the API. You don't have to build any views. You can use the REST framework views that are provided, so that you have something similar to this. You don't even have to deploy this one in Heroku. Just try and get the REST framework set up. and deploy it if you like. But before you do this, I want you to run some of your old projects on your local host and try and get the same functionality up onto Heroku. Okay, all right. Go to lunch.
Yeah.